Do you think you're a nomad just because you can work from a coffee shop in Bali? Real nomads would laugh and then teach you what mobility truly means.
Welcome to Let Nomads Move You, the podcast that takes you on a journey into the lives, cultures, and wisdom of nomadic peoples around the world. I'm Ron, your nomad guy. For over 30 years, I've walked alongside nomads, learning from their deep connections to Scripture, their heritage of mobility, and the lessons they offer for faith, community, and modern life. Trust me, it hasn't always been easy. I've made some painful mistakes along the way, but those experiences have transformed the way I see God, the world, and even my own faith. Each week, we'll uncover how the nomadic way of life can inspire you to rethink your worldview, reconnect with biblical themes, and find fresh purpose in a restless, often fractured world. So, if you're ready to let nomads move you, challenge your thinking, and ignite your faith, this is the podcast for you. Let's go. Freedom, survival, and identity. How true nomads see mobility. What does it really mean to be a nomad? Spoiler, it's not about working remotely from a trendy café in Bali. In this episode, we explore the M in nomad, mobility. For true nomads, mobility isn't just about moving from one place to another. It's a community lifeline, deeply connected to survival, identity, and freedom. You'll learn why nomads see mobility as a sacred resource, how it ties into their relational and communal identity, and why digital nomads fall short of embodying these values. By the end of this episode, you'll be challenged to rethink your own understanding of movement and connection in light of what nomads can teach us about resilience, interdependence, and following Jesus, the Good Shepherd, in community. Welcome to today's episode, Freedom, Survival, and Identity, How True Nomads See Mobility. If you've ever thought being a nomad was as simple as working remotely and traveling for fun, this episode might surprise you. Today, we'll dive deep into what mobility really means for nomadic communities, how it's not a personal lifestyle choice, but a communal resource tied to survival, identity, and even freedom. Along the way, you'll discover how true nomads view the world and why their perspective can challenge us to rethink not just how we live, but how we follow Jesus together. Here are some key points covered in this episode. What sets true nomads apart? Mobility isn't about convenience or adventure. It's about survival, livelihood, and maintaining a community's way of life. Generational identity. How nomads identify as people on the move, even when external pressures keep them in one place for years or decades. Relational mobility. Unlike digital nomads who move for personal goals, true nomads move as a community, with mobility benefiting everyone, whether it's finding grazing land, earning income, or gaining knowledge. Freedom through mobility. Why nomads see movement as a statement of independence and resilience. Lessons for us. How a nomadic mindset can challenge Western notions of stability and individualism. Let's get started.
Digital nomads are not nomads. Why not? And what's the difference? Do you think you're a nomad just because you can work from a coffee shop in Bali? Real nomads would laugh and then teach you what mobility truly means. Here is the issue. Digital nomads might embrace movement, but for true nomads, mobility isn't merely a person's lifestyle, it's a community lifeline. For nomads, mobility is a multi-generational identity marker. They identify as people on the move, even if it seems they are not moving. Some nomads are obviously on the move constantly. Others may seem to be settled in one place, even over several generations. Still, they think about mobility as a resource, and if the circumstances are right, they would naturally pick up and move again. So let's review our working definition. Nomads are not individualistic, rather, the networking of relationships both externally and internally seems built into their DNA. Internally, they're organized as clans or tribes. They see mobility as a resource, even if they don't appear to use it. They highly value their group's autonomy, and they see themselves as distinct from people with a sedentary heritage. What does mobility mean for nomads? Remember, nomads are not individualistic. They see mobility as a community resource. Even if only one person moves, in one way or another, the community is connected. Maybe a segment of the society, or even just one young man, takes the animals to summer pastures. In West Africa, the Soninke and Malinke peoples send young men as far away as Marseille, France, to earn money and send it back for their own community development. In Indonesia, the Minangkabau send their young men out in search of something even more valuable: knowledge. As a result, they are one of the most knowledgeable and influential people groups in all of Southeast Asia. Property and houses are passed down through the women, who seem quite sedentary. But a man is hardly considered marriageable until he has used the resource of mobility to gain knowledge that he then shares with the community on his return. Mobility isn't about choice or convenience. It's about survival, livelihood, and identity. It's tied to the needs of the group, finding grazing land, trading, or navigating seasonal changes. As Gujar buffalo herders in India are urged by the government to settle down, one man responded, "It's not that we like to migrate. We tie our buffalo to stakes in the ground. But in the spring, they pull the stakes out and start moving toward the lush mountain pastures. If we don't go with them, we will lose our livelihood." Even settled nomads love to recall the freedom that mobility gave them, and they may say, if conditions were right, we would move again. Why digital nomads don't qualify. Digital nomads, on the other hand, are typically individualistic, career-driven, and moving for personal convenience or interest. They move out of a personal sense of adventure. They have little regard for connections with extended family. True nomads are relationally rooted, moving to sustain a group's way of life. Their whole clan is involved in the process. Where they go and how long they stay are all determined within the community. Digital nomads seek flexibility and adventure. True nomads seek survival. Digital nomads often travel solo or in loose networks. Nomads are deeply embedded in tribal or clan systems. Digital nomadism is a temporary stage for many, while for true nomads, mobility is part of their generational identity. The hidden layers of nomad mobility. As alluded to earlier, nomads can appear sedentary, yet retain their mobility mindset when only a few are actually moving. In many cases, long-term settlement might be due to external pressures, such as conflict, policy, or political or economic shifts that cut off traditional migration routes. But their identity as people on the move persists regardless of their current location. Take the Gujars of North India. While some have been in one place for decades, they still talk about migration routes as if they walked them yesterday. Why mobility seems sacred to nomads. Nomads often talk about mobility as freedom. For nomads, movement isn't just practical, it's a statement of independence and resilience. As part of their identity, mobility shapes how nomads view themselves and the world around them. Nomads have mastered the art of adapting and moving, not just physically but culturally, blending into or withdrawing from sedentary societies as needed. Lessons for us. Reclaiming the value of mobility. Ask yourself this question. In a world that prizes stability, what can we learn from people who see mobility as a resource for survival and community? After 35 years of marriage and moving an average of 1.5 times per year, people are often shocked to learn that Ron's wife hates moving. But guess what? We've heard that from the wives and mothers in nomadic communities as well. Even for nomads, the process of moving isn't the fun part. But, as his wife says, we had 2 major reasons for moving. First, the temperature was unbearable in the plains in the summer. She would say, the nomads who go to the high mountain pastures for the summer are the smart ones, which leads to the second reason. Our community is moving. We don't want to be left behind. So think about it like this. Mobility isn't about being rootless, it's about being resourceful. True mobility values relationships over locations. Mobility requires sacrifice, not just freedom. Conclusion. Do you think you're a nomad? Think again. So let's wrap it up. For true nomads, mobility is life in community, embracing community autonomy, and the mutual responsibility and benefit of existing for each other. We will address dysfunctional community in another episode. For digital nomads, it's an individual lifestyle for personal freedom and adventure. Here are some challenges for you. What would change in your life if you saw movement not as a personal choice, but as a way to support others? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Understanding nomad mobility isn't just about you or me. It's a lens to rethink how we move, live, and connect in our world. Have you ever thought about mobility as more than movement? Share your thoughts in the comments. Go ahead and tag someone who's a digital nomad for their thoughts.
Thanks for joining us today for Freedom, Survival, and Identity, How True Nomads See Mobility. Let's recap some of the key takeaways from this episode. Mobility isn't about being rootless. It's about being resourceful. True nomads see mobility as a way to support their community, not just themselves. Mobility values relationships over locations. It's not about where you go, it's about who you're with and why you're moving. Mobility requires sacrifice, not just freedom. For nomads, movement often comes with challenges, but it's essential for survival and preserving their way of life. Here's your challenge. What would change in your life if you saw movement not as a personal choice, but as a way to support others? How can you rethink your sense of freedom and connection in light of what we've learned from true nomads? If this episode has sparked your interest in nomads and their unique way of life, and if you're considering long-term service among cultures with zero or nearly zero disciples of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, I invite you to check out Nomad Connect. Through Nomad Connect's three-phase learning journey, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the nomadic mindset, experience life among nomadic communities, and receive guidance for your next steps. Phase 1, a self-paced digital course introducing you to the nomadic mindset. Phase 2, a hands-on experience traveling and camping among nomadic communities in Africa with experienced mentors. Phase 3, ongoing mentorship to help you discern your next steps, whether that's joining a team, forming a team, or supporting a team for long-term service. You can learn more and start your journey today. Look for the Nomad Connect tab on our website, nomadicpeoples.net. Again, that's nomadicpeoples.net. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're inspired, tag a digital nomad you know and get their thoughts on what mobility means to them. Until next time, remember, movement isn't just about where you go. It's about who you're with and how you're walking together with the Good Shepherd. Thanks for traveling with me on this episode of Let Nomads Move You. I hope it gave you a new way to see the world and your faith. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's journey. Until then, keep moving, keep learning, and stay with the Shepherd.